Thank you, Greg. I appreciate everybody coming out and that I have the opportunity to talk with you a little bit. My name is Troy Fletcher. I represent the Yurok tribe. The Yurok Reservation is located on the lower 44 miles of the Klamath River, the Pacific Ocean. And I want to talk about why the agreement works for us, but first, I want to say a few things. Where I'm from, a lot of people are concerned about the agreement. A lot of people are trying to read through it and understand what the thing says in different areas. I agree with the PowerPoint that Greg did, and he highlighted a whole bunch of different components of it. But this thing is really hard to read, hard to understand, and I think some of us that have been in these meetings for 3 years working on it might take for granted a little bit that you could read that thing in about 2 days and even understand it. It's taken me 3 years. Paul Simmons talked a little bit earlier about trust and how we got there, and I want to say, I know some of you, and I know some of you through this negotiation process, and I hope I've earned your trust, those guys that I've worked with. Most of you out here, you don't know me, and I haven't earned your trust. I haven't had a conversation with you. We haven't had a few beers together or more. And we haven't had a chance to really get to know each other. And we may never have that chance. I may never have that opportunity to earn your trust. I do want to say, those of you that I've worked with and met, I don't have to tell you in the audience, they're your neighbors, they're people that represent you, are trustworthy people. And it really took a long time for us, and I think everybody in the basin, to get sick of fighting. And the reason for us we're here is because we're tired of it. We can't keep fighting. And fish will win one in the court today, lose it tomorrow. Irrigators will win one in the court today, no more certainty tomorrow. We both go back to D.C., talk to our congressman, and I'm not any more certain today after I leave his office. And I believe that irrigation isn't either. We all are at somebody else's whim. We all are reacting to somebody else's priorities for us. And what's best about this agreement in my mind is the fact that this wasn't, I appreciate Pablo, I appreciate people from BOR and the federal government through this negotiation process, but they weren't going to be able to force us to do anything. We're all too boneheaded to listen to a lot of things. I'm including myself. And it took the irrigators, it took the tribes, it took some of the environmental groups to cast aside a lot of very tough and hard feelings and really get serious about stuff. What you see is an agreement that reflects those discussions. Those discussions. There are people in my neck of the woods, as I said earlier, who put some of those quotes up there. This does nothing for fish. All it does is take care of the elite irrigators. That's what one blog calls the project irrigators. And those are the type of people whose hatred or whose desire to put people like you out of business drives them more than their desire to protect the fish or to protect a piece of wild, or protect habitat for wildlife. Those are the people that don't have a place in the management here because they're not reasoned. They want to go to court. They want to stay in court. They want to continue to worry about and litigate over ESA issues. We want to get away from that. We want to restore fisheries. We want to work for a stable community. I know the values that you have in your community are similar to ours. Working hard, spirituality. We try to do our best to raise our children. You want your children to have an option to stay home and come back and continue on from where they're from and be able to make a living and be able to teach their children and so on and so on. Those are the things that motivate us as well. If we can do this right, we can get away from the biological opinions and we can restore fisheries. If we do this right, there's certainty for agriculture. If we can do this right, we can get off the front page of the newspapers and I can start worrying about something else besides what's going on from that perspective. I want to tell you why this works for us for fish. For us, we believe that there needs to be a few things to address fishery issues. And fishery issues are what will stabilize the people in my community that I represent. For us, for Klamath River Fish, we believe it takes a few things need to happen. One is we believe that the dams on the Klamath River have to come out. That's one thing we believe. We also believe it needs to make business sense for Pacific Corps to take them out. Pacific Corps didn't have a problem taking away your contract for power rates. We don't believe those dams, in our opinion, do much in terms of power production, very small. No flood control. They don't provide for irrigation. It has to make business sense for Pacific Corps, obviously. But this is an opportunity we see because of those factors that are non-fishery related. An opportunity to work with Pacific Corps to try to remove the dams, to work with other community members. That's why it works for us. In negotiating with Greg and Paul and other members of the irrigator community, Klamath Project and off project, people made it very clear power rates are important to us. We said, okay, if you need that to stabilize your community, that's part of it, that's part of the equation, okay. And so we hope you appreciate that as you look at this agreement and you consider what it is that you may have on the table, that you also appreciate that we had to look through things too and try to figure out and listen to people and support what it was that irrigators, the Upper Klamath Basin needed for stability. Let me finish my thing about fish. Dams out, we feel, will improve our fishery. We feel that working on the water issue will improve our fishery. We're talking about trying to increase storage into Upper Klamath Lake. Some of those actions have already happened. Section 16 of the agreement establishes a way to work with off-project water users to try to, the Klamath tribes and them to try to achieve an inflow of 30,000 acre feet voluntarily. And then the last thing we think needs to happen for fish that has to happen, and it goes throughout the entire basin, that there needs to be funding for restoration, for habitat restoration. Where we're at, not commenting on up here, but where we're at the Lower Klamath Basin, there's about 4.5 or 5 miles of logging roads per square mile. And many of those roads are old-time roads. They have Humboldt crossings, they're called. And one of the things that we do is we go out and take out a lot of the old roads and stabilize those, because they end up washing out, as you can imagine, and dumping sediment into the stream, and that chokes off salmon eggs as they're produced. And so some of this money will go to help address those problems. There are problems in the Shasta and the Scott rivers that need to be addressed, and this agreement provides funding to try to address those issues. And finally, this agreement works for lake issues and up above, and we support that. We think those are necessary for fish. Last point I want to make is, I want to reiterate is, good luck in reviewing this stuff. It is hard, and you need to review it. You've got to understand it. But if you ever feel down about it when you're reading it, or if you want a second opinion, look on the websites and look at what some of the guys downriver are throwing at us. And I think what that's an example of is everybody had to carve out the middle. Everybody had to sweat and toil over issues, and everybody learned to trust people as we came along. So did I talk too long?